For those of you who might wonder why I hang this white sheet up here, it's because this floor is very busy in its colors and the chords and the black piano, and I cannot see the color of my strings in order to play. And so putting this nice white background helps me out by doing that. Oh, would everyone at home please mute your microphone?
Welcome, dear friends. Welcome to our spiritual home, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tarpon Springs. Our church is located here in the walkable historic district of Tarpon Springs. My name is Dallas Riggan, for those of you who don't know me. Yes, I'm fairly new here, only a few years, and I'm your worship associate for today. We are a church of many welcomes, and we offer a warm welcome to all of you who have joined us here live and on Zoom. This is a liberal community for all ages, promoting spiritual growth, social justice, and the arts. As such, ours is an active church, and everyone is invited to participate in our activities, whether you're a member or not. If you'd like to know more about the upcoming activities of this church, then check our website, uutarpon.org. Or you can talk to any of the members or our membership chair, Judy Pickett, and she will be more than happy to get back to you and give you any of the information you need. Bonnie Whitehurst will be singing and playing throughout the service, and you are welcome to sing along with us with your masks on, and thank you in advance for keeping those on. For those present with us in the building today, we have connection cards available for you in the pews right next to the hymnals. If you will fill one out and drop it in the offering plate as you leave the church, we'll keep in touch with you and let you know what's going on. The music, of course, is provided by our music director, Bonnie Whitehurst. And now, may we begin our service by lighting our chalice. We light this chalice with the words of Marjorie Montgomery. Life is a gift for which we are grateful. We gather in community to celebrate the glories and the mysteries of this great gift.
Light a candle for the homeless and the hungry, a little shelter from the cold. Light a candle for the broken and forgotten, may the season warm their souls. Can we open our hearts to shine through the dark? Light a candle, light the dark, light the world, light a heart or two, light a candle for me, I'll light a candle for you.
Good morning. My name is Scheitinger, and I've been a member of this church for about 7 or 8 years now. And there is that point in the service up until the pandemic when all the little kids would come forward and we would read a storybook. Well, there are not too many 6-year-olds here today, I don't think. But every time I preached back then, when we did have kids, I always did. I always did read a story to them, as several other people did. So you're all going to be 6 years old this morning, and I'm going to read to you a book called Be Strong.
Hey George, before you begin, let's clip your mic on your collar so that we can make sure the sound comes through.
Okay.
It's hard to click. There, that should work.
Now, it's interesting that before the pandemic, there were no empty seats in church on Sunday. We had to set up extra chairs. And because we did that, and it was a really wonderful atmosphere because it involved a lot of children. If you are new in the church and we're not here then, after the service is over, go into the side room here, and on one of the walls is a big map. And right above the map is a picture that was taken about 2 years ago of the whole congregation standing in front of the church right after a service. And you'll see all the little kids, and you'll see the fact that there were about 70 people there. Very different. So we're hoping that when everything gets over with, we'll get back to what we've got to think of as normal. And you get a children's story. Thank the little kids who used to be here. It's called Be Strong, and it's a little girl, a little 7, 8-year-old girl talking, and she starts at a new school, and she finds that when she goes the first day to the gymnasium for that class, she finds a wall with stones sticking out, and it's a climbing wall. And she sees the other kids going up the wall, and so she tries, and she says, I don't reach the top or laugh. My muscles get me stuck at the bottom. I'm not strong. Some days I can't even lift my backpack. Other days, simple things are too hard. So I ask, how can I be strong? So I'm not reading every page, so I have to skip around. Dad says being strong means showing up. Like when your neighbors need help, to show up and help. Mom says being strong means speaking up. Like when she sees a corner that needs a crossing guard, she asks the city leaders and they say no, but Mom knows she's right. She keeps talking to neighbors and friends and even the mayor, and she asks again, and we have a guard. Grandma Z says being strong means not giving up, like when she started running. At first, she barely jogged the block. She worried people would laugh, but she kept going, day after day, block after block, even when it rained. I want to be strong. So like my dad, I show up. I explain math to my friends who have trouble with math. And like Mama, I speak up. When kids look lonely at lunch, I want to help. I think of an idea and I tell my teacher and the principal too. Then we make special tables so that no one sits alone. Some kids say it's weird, but that doesn't stop us. My grandma Z says, don't give up. The first time I played the accordion, it sounded like screeching sounds. My ears hurt, my eyes water. I don't think I'll ever get it, but I signed up for the talent show anyway, and each time I practice, I sound a little bit more like music. Dad says, be strong. Being strong means knowing you can make things happen and turning nothing into something. Being strong means moving forward, Mom says. Tiny steps are fine, as long as you take them in the right direction. But whenever I when I decide to write 100 thank you notes and give them away, every time I give one away, I know I'm that much closer. Grandpa Z says, strong people care, and sometimes they cry, and they help people, and other people help them. That's why Kayla, another girl, who helped her climb the rocks, said, I don't reach the top, but I get higher every time.
Back in the 1980s, I did a lot of piano bar work, and I was playing at a very fancy restaurant downtown St. Petersburg, and in walked Christopher Plummer. He was finishing up a play that he had done at the theater down there, and I had known songs from a musical that he was in back in 1973. It was the musical for Cyrano de Bergerac. And it only had 49 shows, and it kind of died. But it had a lot of beautiful music. And the song that I'm choosing to play for you right now is called Autumn Carol. And it's sung by the nuns in the convent, just as Roxanne is going to live with them. It's called Autumn Carol.
Around comes the autumn, the swallows are leaving, the year is unweaving her garments of red. Out of its hiding, the winter is riding, so nature lies still and pretends to be dead. Aspen and yew will be quivering and bare. What will we do? We'll be shivering the year. With around will come Christmas, the feast of the stranger. The beasts in the manger will fall on their knees. Green in the cloister and green on the altar, a promise that green will return to the trees. Return to the trees. Return to the trees.
I am not a worship associate now. I take that hat off. I've been asked to tell a little bit about my UU story and how I became a UU and what it means to me. So that's it. I was born in Southern Virginia, grew up Baptist, in a Baptist family. When I was little, my mother bought a picture, I'm sure you've seen them, a picture book of the Bible, with the big pictures in it and the Bible stories and everything in it. And I read through that once, twice, maybe 3 times. And when I finished, I just thought, okay, so where's the dinosaurs? They didn't mention that. There were no cavemen, just Adam and Eve. I asked my mother. She said, ask your Sunday school teacher, which I did. The Sunday school teacher just smiled at me, patted me on the head, and said, ask the minister, talk to the minister. The minister didn't give me a real answer, just that there are many mysteries in life we can't understand, explain, or whatever, and more or less just turned me around like, okay, get out of here. But I never really understood that. And something else, the world was invented or was created in 7 days. 24 hours, 7 days, or no, at least the minister did say, well, we don't know how long a year is to God. It could be many millions of years. And that almost answered that for me. As I got older, there was a Baptist church in our area, in our city. It was called a Baptist temple. The minister of that church was discovered to be having an affair with his church secretary. Well, after it became a lot of talk in this city, and the board, after meeting a couple of times, decided they would ask him for his resignation. When they did, he informed them, I don't think you understand the situation. I own this property. I own this building. I own this church. If one of us is leaving, it's you. Well, after a few years, that got straightened out. And just as an aside here, it's interesting, the minister that took over after I was out of school and in college and working full-time for the radio station, he called me and asked if I would co-MC a record burning with him. My first thought was, do you know who you're talking to? I have my own radio show at night. I play these records. What's the thought process here? I said, no, sir, I don't believe I can do that. But I was nice. Well, anyway, the father of a very close friend of mine, a very close friend, was a deacon at our church. A good man, someone I respected, someone I thought a lot of, and sort of a counselor and sort of a mentor to me, I guess you'd say. His wife had an affair with the chief deacon, the head deacon of the church, who was one of his better friends and someone pretty close to him. Well, that hurt me because I knew the family involved and I knew him well, and I respected him quite a bit. That hurt me, and that really bothered me. So I made up my mind, I'm going to be 18 soon, and when I am 18, I'm finished with this. I'm out of this church, and I'm out of established religion, particularly Baptist or Protestant. I'm out of here, which I did. After that, if anyone talked to me or asked me, what religion are you, what church do you go to, my answer was, I don't care much for established religions, particularly Protestant, and so my religion is my business. Then I met Betty Clark. Re-met Betty Clark, I should say. We reunited because I grew up with her. She told me she was Unitarian, and she talked to me about being a Unitarian, that she had been one since she moved to Charlottesville and went to the University of Virginia. She went to the Thomas Jefferson Unitarian Church there. And I said, okay, well, you know, I'll try it because I don't really have a church I'm married to. So we did. We moved to Houston. I went to the Unitarian Church there. I met the minister, Matt Tittle, the Reverend Dr. Matt Tittle. He was an excellent minister. I liked him. I liked his style. I liked what he had to say, the way he said it. And more than that, I liked the people I talked to. and they all had ideas that were similar to mine. They all had ideas and talked about what I had sort of been thinking the whole time, and I thought, well, you know what? I must be a Unitarian. It's a shame I didn't know about it in Danville. I would have been a member. On the other hand, Danville, Virginia, one of the golden buckles on the Bible Belt, probably didn't have one. If they did, I'm sure they ran them out of town long ago. But that was it for me. I decided I didn't care much for established religion. I went to her church. I got really into that Unitarian church, the Bay Area Unitarian Universalist Church in Houston. Became a worship associate, did other things there, enjoyed it, enjoyed the minister, made some very good friends, very close friends, and of course, almost every time I was always pleased to find out someone else who thought the way I did. So I am a Unitarian. When we moved from there to here, to Florida, to Land O'Lakes, Florida, we went to the Unitarian Church in Tampa. It was nice, but unfortunately it split. A very bad split and not a really good one. That church now, I really don't know what's going to happen to it. It's not doing well, but we found Tarpon Springs. And the way we did, Bonnie Whitehurst appeared at an AARP program at the library with her instruments, and she talked about them and talked about the Unitarian Church and sang. And I was impressed with her playing the auto harp, because my uncle, Zeb, used to play the auto harp all the time. And he was very good at it, so that just sort of grabbed me. And what she said about the church impressed both friends and a church that we love and like and really want to stay with. And I hope you'll let us. Thank you.
The offering.
Next time I'll be a worship associate.
Good job. Thank you. Well, you all know me. I can't find my name tag, so if anyone finds it, put it on so I can look at it and see what it looks like. So, I'm Judy Pickett. I'm chair of the membership committee, and I'm also heavily involved in the pledge campaign. And today marks the last day of the campaign. Look, I'm very, very unhappy. I don't understand. However, we have another month. I'll give you another month. Because by the end of December, I want to see that tree, that forest of quaking aspens filled with beautiful yellow. And if you haven't had a chance, you can still go on the website, fill out the donation form. And you can also ring me up and say, hey, Jude, I don't have the form, but can I tell you what I'm going to pledge? Yes, yes. And my partner in crime, Judy Lucarelli, we go as Luke and Pick now as the team. She's on her road back from Maine, so I'm going to hand all this over to her when she gets here. So, but thank you very much for those of you who have submitted your pledge forms. We really appreciate it. And that sign's not going away. It's going to be a constant reminder of how much we love this place. Thank you.
Now is the time in our service where we take our offering for the work and welfare of this church. Ours is a free faith, and so for it to remain a free faith, we are self-sustaining financially. Please go to our website, uutarpon.org, click on the donate button, or you may mail it directly to the church at 57 Reed Street, Tarpon Springs, Florida, 34689. The offering will now be given and gratefully received.
My song during the offertory is called These Hands. It's music by Dave Gunning, who is a singer-songwriter in Canada. And it's talking about what we all do with our hands. And I'm also a school teacher, and I had all the students, I asked them to send in photos of them doing anything with their hands. And so I got a variety of pictures, and I put them all in a video, and then the choirs sang the song as the video played. It was very, very beautiful. Always teared me up.
Some hands have blessed 1,000,000 people. Some hands help free the world from evil. So tell me, what shall I do with these hands of mine? Some hands can stop a life from dying. Some hands comfort a baby crying. So tell me, what shall I do with these hands of mine? What shall I do with these hands of mine? What shall I do with these hands of mine? The world could use a hero of the humankind. So tell me, what shall I do with these hands of mine? I want to sing it from my heart. I want to hear it in the wind till it blows around the world and comes back again. And all that we can do, if we're ours to be free, is to use them when we want, for whatever the need. Some hands give voice to a nation. Some hands, they wrote the times they are a-changin'. So tell me, what shall I do with these hands of mine? What shall I do with these hands of mine? What shall I do with these hands of mine? The world could use a hero of the humankind. So tell me, what shall I do with these hands of mine? So tell me, what shall I do with these hands of mine?
There is, excuse me, there is one aspect of the mind that disturbs me. Now, I'm not sure what I can do about it. I'm not sure what anybody can do about it. It is just what it is. That aspect is wrapped up in a sentence which I have spoken probably a few times, although when I think back, I keep hoping I never said these things, but I've heard it a lot of times. That aspect, that sentence has crushed our greatest resource. That sentence, just 4 words long, only 9 letters long. I am too old. I see somebody else has heard that sentence before. I am too old. Now, those of you who are in the congregation this morning who are younger than too old, don't think that this sermon is not for you, that it's only for senior citizens. But that's not so. This sermon is for everybody, all of us, including myself. Even as I give it, I think of it over and over again. Now a second sentence. Don't go gently into that good night. That's the opening words of a poem by Dylan Thomas, I'm not even sure now, it's Northern European poet of the last century. Don't go gently into that good night. It's a lovely sentiment. It's a beautiful sentence. But it is more than just a sentence. It is a profound statement of religious commitment. Don't go gently into that good night. Life is sacred. Life is too sacred to give away the last 10 or 20 or even 30 years just doing frivolous things just because we have reached some certain age or certain aspect of life. Life is too sacred. And there are many people who are going to be content to let life slip away, not using it, but losing it. And it's apparent then that when one begins to think about that, that our time and the use of our lives, what I'm talking about is to far more people than those who happen to have gray hair. People give up on life. People give up on life at all different ages, even young people. And this is not true of all of them, but think of the kids who graduate from high school, put away their books, and never again are challenged by an idea beyond them. Same with college. Same with our professional development. Life is too simple to just put it away. When this whole idea of putting our life away because we've reached that certain aspect happens not only in our work or our play, but it also happens in our interpersonal relationships, in our friendships. And when it does, when it happens there, then that's the death of those relationships. That's the death of those friendships. And it shouldn't be so. And what we say in lots of different ways about when we die, about dying. I've heard it many times, I'm sure you've heard it too, that when we're born, we begin to die. And other people say little different things, but I like to say when we give up on life, when we stop growing, we begin to die. And what we can see in the human world, we can also see in the world of nature. Think of a flower, little tiny seed. You plant it in the ground, and pretty soon a little green spout, and eventually a taller green spout, and a flower comes forth. Beautiful flower. But after a short time, and we know it's going to happen, the flower begins to wither and die. Now, fortunately, a lot of plants produce another flower next year, but a lot of us don't do that. We reach a certain point, and we begin to wither, and we begin to die. And what's true in the physical world is equally true in the spiritual world and in the emotional world. So then this sermon is a plea for the words of Dylan Thomas, don't go gently into that good night. Stay alive all of your life. Don't be content to merely shrivel up and die. Now, unfortunately, in our lives, and we all know people like this, and we all have family members like this who have mentally just shriveled up and died. My grandmother died when she was 94. But at the age of 88, she no longer could speak. She no longer could think. She didn't know any members of the family. And she had to be put in a nursing home so they could take good care of her. But that isn't for most of us. Most of us live our lives where we can continue to speak, and we can continue to grow, and we can continue to do. And these are important things for us to remember. Don't go gently into that good night. Now, some people in the congregations that I've known, and by the way, I was one time, a long time ago, a clergyman in the United Church of Christ, retired from that ages and ages ago. And when I did retire from that, I got into the travel business. And I got into the travel business by just taking bus tours of senior citizens from St. Petersburg everywhere. And we marketed them through mobile home parks. There was a mobile home park on 38th Avenue North in St. Pete that, as a group, 38 people, I think it was, decided that they would go with us to New Orleans. Now, these are all senior citizens. They get on the bus. We serve refreshments of all kinds on the bus while we travel. And one of the ladies, the smallest, the tiniest woman on the bus, 92 years old, never sat down. She was up and down the bus talking with everybody. She was helping serve refreshments. She just was so involved in people who were with her. The trip is a day and a half, and the second day when we arrived in New Orleans and we had dinner that evening, as soon as dinner was over, most people went back to the hotel rooms. She got a group of about 5 or 6, and they went out dancing. And we were there 3 nights, and 3 nights she arranged to a group to go out dancing. Don't go gently into that good night. Don't give up your life because of your age. You know, I think of 2 women in the church in St. Petersburg that I served, both of them 95 years old. The first one, whenever I called on her, and she could not get out of the house, she had a full-time nurse and maid, but when I called on her, she wanted to discuss the books that she was reading. She wanted to discuss what was going on in the world, what's the political situation really like, how's the people in the church, how is so-and-so doing, how is this person doing. She just was so involved in everything, even though she never could move from that. 95. The second person was able, again, a woman, able to get out. She too was in the area of 95. She was able to get out, and she came to church most Sundays. And our choir decided that it would go and serenade several of the people of our church who were older. When we got to her house, it was about 8 o'clock at night, she wasn't home. So we sort of stood around for a few minutes, and then a taxi pulled up, and out she popped, both arms filled with bags in which there were gifts. She'd been out shopping, 95, by herself. Don't go gently into that good night. Stay alive as long as you can. And that's true whether you're 95 or 25. When I was serving my second church, which was in Boston, I was the associate minister there. And right at the beginning of my ministry, the senior pastor asked me if I would take the responsibility for this young man in the church who was, he said, just your age. I said, sure, what do you want? And he said, well, he's in prison, and we'd like you to visit him. Okay, what's he in prison for? Well, when he was 13, he and his sister, his younger sister, were adopted by a family in our church, a couple who did not have children. And when he was 16, he took a hammer and killed them, killed the 2 adults. and he was sentenced to be executed for that. He hit twice during that sentence. He got within 2 days of being electrocuted. And finally, they were both passed, and the judge said, okay, let's take that away. Let's make it double life. So he was resentenced to double life. And in Massachusetts, that's 40 years. I met him when he was 27. And I would go down to Norfolk Prison, south of Boston, around 6 o'clock on Tuesday nights and spend 2 or 3 hours with him, and also with a whole group of inmates. And the interesting thing for those people who haven't been very much involved in prisons, you wouldn't realize that we could be in a room almost this big with maybe 20 inmates, just in a big circle to talk. No guards. 3 outsiders, or we were called the outmates. 3 outmates, and never any of us felt that we were in danger for these guys, several of whom had committed murder, including Richard, who was sitting next to me. Well, we were talking alone together once, and I said, Richard, how are you handling this? How are you doing? And he said, oh, I'm really doing okay. He said, I'm working on my college degree. He said, I got my high school diploma 2 years ago, and I'm working on my college degree. He said, actually, 3 things I'm doing. The college degree I'm working on. Every day I go to the gym and I spend an hour exercising to keep myself physically fit. And then every Sunday I go to a church service. And the group really works hard on helping each of us develop our relationships with God. He said, I was never good at that kind of stuff, but those 3 things really, really make it easier for me. I said, but Richard, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about what are you doing. I'm talking about how are you handling. You sit in your cell at night, can't go to sleep. How are you handling the number 30? 30 years you're going to be here yet. He said, oh, I said, that's never a problem. I said, well, how can that not be a problem? He said, well, because sometimes I just, I look ahead to 30 years and sort of shake my head and I say, I can get through this year. I don't have 30 years I have to worry. I just have to get through this year. And then he said, and sometimes I look around and I know I can't get through this year. He says, so I say to myself, I just have to get through this month. That's all, 1 month. I can do that. But then he said, but sometimes I can't do that. And then it's 1 day. I can get through a day. Sometimes I can't do that. And then he said, I can get through an hour. And sometimes I can't. So then he said, I can get through the next 5 minutes. I know I can. And I can. And I always do. I always get through that next 5 minutes. And that's how I handle time. That's how I handle what's going to happen to me. That's how I handle all of life inside the prison. Now, what he talked about was a relatively simple idea. But it really boils down to Dylan Thomas's poem, Don't Go Gently Into That Good Night. So it doesn't matter what age you're old, don't give up on it. Don't think, hey, I just want to play. I just want to do frivolous things. So don't give away 10 or 20 years. Don't give away any of that. Intellectually, spiritually, we continue to grow. And hopefully we begin to nurture our lives. Just keep it up all the time. Don't go gently into that good night is the first sentence of a poem. And the second sentence is rage, rage against the dying of the light. It's interesting to me that I really shouldn't have ever bothered to say anything. I should have just read this book in entirety. Be strong and get strong and find out how to do it. Thank you.
And now together we'll sing our hymn from the Teal hymnal, number 1021 in the Teal book, called Lean on Me.
Okay.
I hope I didn't need that.
Okay.
Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride if I have things you need to borrow, for no one can fill those of your needs that you won't let show. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. If there is a load you have to bear that you can't carry, I'm right up the road. I'll share your load if you just call me. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Just call on me, brother, if you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'd understand. We all need somebody to lean on.
George Scheitinger, retired minister and longtime member of the church. Thank you for that. And I know the poem, and thank you for that. It's something that we and probably a lot of people need to hear and know about. Thank you. We extinguish the chalice with the words of Elizabeth Seal Jones. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. And now some announcements. We invite those in person here in the church with us to gather in the forum room for time with our friends on Zoom to share our joys and concerns. We are planning to purchase Christmas gifts for the children at Head Start in Tarpon Springs. This year, we are asking for donations, and George Scheitinger will handle the purchase and the wrapping of all the gifts. Envelopes are available here at the church for you. Please place your donations in the envelope and place them in the collection basket as you exit the church. And be sure to enter Head Start Christmas gifts in the note section. If you want to contribute online, you can do so, or you can mail it here to the church. But be sure we get it on or before December 19th. That's the cutoff date, December 19th. If you need more information or if you'd like to know more, contact Jane Neal at chijane1 verizon.net. That's chijane1 at verizon.net. She'll answer all your questions and give you all the information you need. Thank you for joining us here today. We're glad you're here, those of you who came in person and those of you on Zoom. So now let's adjourn to the forum room to be with our friends on Zoom.
My postlude is a song called Enjoy Yourself, It's Later Than You Think. Before I was a music director here, I played at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Clearwater, and there was a gentleman there, Wally Dyer, and he had me play for his funeral, and he planned it years before he passed away. And he said this was the most important song that he wanted played at his funeral.
You work and work for years and years, you're always on the go. You never take a minute off, you're busy making dough. Someday you'll say you'll have your fun when you're a millionaire. Imagine all the fun you'll have in your old rocking chair. Enjoy yourself. It's later than you think. Enjoy yourself while you're still in the pink. The years go by as quickly as a wink. Enjoy yourself, it's later than you think. You're gonna take that ocean trip no matter come what may. You've got your reservation, but you just can't get away. Next year for sure you'll see the world, you'll really get around. But how far can you travel when you're 6 feet underground? Enjoy yourself, it's later than you think. Enjoy yourself while you're still in the pink. The years go by, it's quickly as a wink. Enjoy yourself, it's later than you think. Enjoy yourself, it's later than you think.
We're done, right? We're done. You're done.